Hey y'all, it's Megan. Welcome back to the channel. Glad y'all are here today. Come spend some time with us today. First thing on the list is we're gonna move our plants from our greenhouse up to this little sunroom we've got attached to the house. It's got a little propane heater in there, and with this Arctic weather, we're scared that we ain't gonna be able to keep our plants warm enough in our greenhouse, because at night right now we're lucky that it stays right above 32 degrees. So we're gonna get them out of here and then see what's next. So Andy's little plastic that he's put here, it's worked good, but it's just gonna be too cold.
It's definitely not cold in here right now.
No.
So we did have a mishap the other day, y'all. We had a little issue with the power down here at the barn, and the fuse that's in that breaker panel, for some reason, was just slightly unscrewed, and it caused us to lose power down here. And I come down here that morning to look, and it was only 20 degrees inside this greenhouse. And since then, we've just been kind of on edge about this thing, because we're just scared of what could happen. But we almost lost an aloe plant. I mean, these leaves right here are gone, but down in there still green, so I think they're fine. This one back here, it didn't even really bother it. But then some of these, you can see they got burnt back. That morning when I was in here, it was, honestly, I hated to see it, but it was kind of cool. This aloe was just froze, and I could just break it like ice. We did lose this little guy, though. I don't think he made it. We're going to take him to the house just in case he ain't completely froze. It could potentially have something come back out from down here at the roots. I'm going to take it to the house just in case. But other than that, everything else fared well. Our ferns that we were overwintering, they lost a little bit, but I trimmed them up, and you can see they got new growth coming back out. But we've been just a little bit on edge ever since, just because that happened. Everything else done fine, though. Look at these peace lilies and all. I mean, they all survived. I had to cut some dead leaves out of them, but surprisingly, they didn't die. So we was lucky.
Yes.
I'll go slow. I'll set that pan over that right there, that hole.
Heavy? You have to take the other one?
No, I can get it. I did notice some leaves turned yellow on these citrus trees here and have been falling off, but I do think they're going to be fine.
Yeah, because that's already been a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. It's at least been 2 weeks ago. That's But I'd say, hopefully here in about a week, we can move these back inside the greenhouse and go back to business as usual.
We was trying not to have to do this. We wanted to just kind of see if we could overwinter the stuff, but the Arctic cold is just, it's a chance we don't want to take.
Yeah.
So.
And we've already had one close call, and we're not going to do it again.
Here, it's actually the kids' playroom, so you're gonna see toys and stuff in the background, but at least they'll be able to get a little bit of light in here, and we have a way of warming this more efficiently.
Yeah.
Let me just scoot it.
We'll see. Yeah, set them right here underneath it.
Okay.
That thing's actually went downhill since the last time I saw it.
Maybe it froze down there again and we didn't know it.
Well, that heater's been doing a pretty good job of keeping it above 32, but I have been down there a couple mornings and it was 32. So, I don't know, it may have just took a long time for it to show the symptoms of it freezing. So, I know the foliage on this thing looks terrible, and this too. But here's what I'm looking at that tells me that I think it's going to survive. Is that bud and everything down in there is still good looking and green. And so, I think that it should keep on growing on, you know, grow out with new growth, and then this foliage right here is just what froze and it's going to die back. And this one is the same way. You know, the tips of the leaves look kind of rough. These were babies that we had repotted. And they were looking so good. They really were. But not now. Then this guy, this is the one I don't think is going to live. But there is, when you get to digging way down in there, you can still see some green in the stalk. So I'm going to give him a chance. Same with this one. I don't even know what type of house plant those are. Well, now what's on your agenda?
I guess I'm gonna go get that meat.
And you're gonna start packing that?
Be packing some more meat. Almost done. Almost done.
Well, I guess I'm gonna go down here and finish what we started the other day.
What do you want me to come? Is that?
No, I'll be good by myself.
Are you sure?
Everything's easily reachable from the ground. By the time I get to the part where there's higher up boards, it's either gonna be quitting time or supper time.
Okay.
So I'm probably not going to get that far anyways. I can do what I can do from the ground.
Alright, so the next thing on my list is I've got a little bit more meat to vacuum seal, more pork. Everything I'll be vacuum sealing today has been sitting in salt, and that's why I hadn't got to it yet. This right here is a shoulder, a pork shoulder, that we cut kind of like a Boston butt. We put the salt and pepper mixture on it. The same ratio as you saw us do the country ham, just minus the sugar, and we also put some red pepper flakes on it. Usually the shoulders, we let them sit around a month-ish in salt, and then you can bring it back and you've got a really nice roast, or you can cook it like a honey-baked ham like y'all saw me do here a while back in the smoker. That was, oh my gosh, that was so delicious. So something different about this versus just a raw Boston butt, which I've also pieced out some of those and froze them for later on, is your texture and your flavor are going to be totally different. And my plan today, I've got two of these, is I'm going to debone them and hopefully make me two decent sized little roasts to have for later on. Now when we do this with the shoulders, it does still have the skin on it, so I'm going to work on getting that skin off probably first. Then I'll work on getting the bone out of it. Something you may notice if you do try this, you see that mold? That is completely normal, completely part of the process. And all I'll do with that, I'll rinse it off in my sink. And what doesn't, I've already scraped most of the excess salt off of it, but what doesn't come off in the sink, I'll just cut off with my knife. I'm gonna see if I can get two pretty little roasts out of this. Now I'm gonna slowly see if I can start getting the skin off of this. After they've cured, it's kind of hard to skin them, but I'm trying to do the best that I can. There we go. So, got that off. Now it's time to get that bone out. I am not a butcher, y'all. So, when I'm deboning pieces of meat like this, it is solely winging it. I ain't gonna lie to y'all. And now you don't have to debone this. The last one I cooked this whole big old chunk like this. But to cook just for us, I would rather have smaller pieces. Plus, it's a lot smaller piece of meat. It's a lot easier to work with as far as vacuum sealing and all that goes. We go. All right, so there's one little nice roast there, and I'm gonna go along the edge here, and if I see any mold, like right there, I'm gonna get that off. But that'll be one nice little roast, and now I'll get it out the other side. All right, so I've got me another good size roast here. That was actually a lot easier than the other side because I got that joint cut out of it, but there's me another good size roast to enjoy at some point or another. Now you can see the difference in color. This is what had salt directly on it, these dark pieces like that. And that's what it's supposed to look like. And actually the inside of this meat is a deeper color than just raw meat. I don't know how well the camera picks that up, but it does have a much more maroonish color. And I'm just looking for any little spots of mold that I may need to cut off. I've actually got that one pretty clean. Look at this one. And if you do try this, I'm going to tell you right now, you will know immediately if it's not good. Especially the way I had trimmed that skin off and that fat layer. A lot of times that's really where you can smell it at. If it didn't take salt or the weather wasn't right on it, you can really smell it in that fat. And it's not necessarily a rotten smell. It's more of a weird smell. Like right now, it literally doesn't smell like much of anything to me anyway. And it shouldn't. I mean, if it smells like anything, it should just smell like meat. Or maybe you can smell the salt. That looks pretty clean. That right there is a fine looking roast. And of course I'll label this one, because I froze some raw ones this way too. I'll label this one that it was salted. So that way I knew. And I'll also label it that it's a shoulder, because once stuff starts getting froze and throw it in the freezer and everything, sometimes you forget what's what. I don't know about y'all, but I do anyway. I got one more to go, and I'll get it deboned, vacuum sealed, and I'll show y'all what's next.
So I'm going to be back down here working on the barn siding like y'all saw in the last video. After we finished this wall here, off camera of course, me and Megan was talking about it, and I think we've somewhat changed our mind on exactly how we're going to do this siding. Let me go in the gate here and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So we've got this gate right here that we never use. I can't think, other than just walking in and out of it maybe a handful of times, I can't think of any time it's ever really been used for anything. So we have decided that we're going to box in this whole wall right here, take the gate down, and we'll move the gate to this area. I'm going to box in this wall right here too. All of this will be boxed in solid. So all the way across here, it'll be like its own separate room. I need to finish boxing in the bottom. I just never got that far the last time I was working on all this. Well, when I built this, when I boxed this in, I'd planned on not doing anything else to it. So I brought the board out to plumb to the edge of the post. And really it should have been about right there so I could nail onto this post. Well, I could knock off every single one of those boards and fix that. Or I could take a skill saw and run right down the edge there and I'd still have something to nail to. But I'm not going to do either one of those. I'm going to take the easy route out. And I'm going to get me a 2x4 and nail to the side of the post. That'll stick it out that much farther, and that'll give me what I nail my siding to right up through there. But my first goal for today is to move this gate. So this is what's going to go away first. I am going to knock off these boards, and then we'll just kind of reconfigure them just like I done on the other side. These are all treated boards. I will use probably the first 2 or 3 down here at the very bottom, closest to the ground, and then up from there will be pine boards. Using my little pocket Nip-X pliers here. If you hadn't seen any of these are the 4-inch Nip-X pliers. They're a little bit on the pricey side, y'all, but it's amazing what you can do with these pliers. There we go. So to keep the animals out of here while I'm working, I'm just going to go ahead and hang this gate up. We'll be back in business here. Kind of funny how this worked out here. The bar is right in the way of where this latch needs to go. This is the same brand gate and everything as the gate that was originally here. So I find that odd that this one doesn't line up to work right. So I went ahead and fixed the gate. Got the hinges out of the post over here. And all I had to do was take that bolt out and I spread that apart and then push it up on there. And I was able to use the hinge in the same location. These were what's left of some of those gate hanger feeders. I have to check. Some of these I have screws in, but it looks like that top one's just nails. Lay that to the side. We have to get them nails out of it. There ain't no screw in that hole. All right. That one's just nails. that bottom one screws. We'll go ahead and pull it off.
All right, the next thing I'm gonna be vacuum sealing is some hog jaw. So that is exactly what it sounds like. This is the jaw meat of the pig. If you watched our bacon video, we showed you how we salt cure these. Now these sit longer than the bacon, usually at least a month in salt. We occasionally sugar cure one too, but I think these were just salt cured, best I can remember anyway. But we've already got these sliced with our meat slicer. Not all pieces look like that. When you get through the jaw, you'll get some little pieces like that, don't have as much lean meat in it, but these are still really good pieces. Hog jaw, in my opinion, is right up there with bacon. It is a delicious piece of meat. When it gets to this time of year, when I'm winding down, I'm so thankful to have all this fresh meat. I am about tired of working up pig meat. I'm about tired. I'm giving out. But this today should be, that's it. That's all the salted meat. I've already put up everything else. So after this, I can kind of take a deep breath and not have to worry about it. Enjoy the fruits of our labor, the canned food, the frozen food. It's time to start enjoying it. See there? Nice looking pack of hog jaw there. I just fry that in my frying pan just like bacon. Again, it's another one of the things, you gotta kind of cook it slow so you don't burn it. But it's delicious. I always tickle myself though when I go to opening these packs. I can always tell which ones are from the end of the season and which ones are from the beginning, because when I start getting tired, I usually put a few more pieces in a pack than I do at the beginning. And now this hog jaw could actually sit in our meat house until it starts getting hot outside. So it could actually sit there till probably March, April at the latest, and it would be just fine. But I like to go ahead. It's not going to take any more salt at this point anyway, but I like to just go ahead and get it done.
All right. So at this stage, number one priority is getting enough, at least getting far enough this evening that I've got a wall up to about right here, so nothing gets out tonight. Golly, now I got myself a job, ain't I? So we want to go about, the measurement for our boards going across here needs to be something in the neighborhood of half of the width of this, so I'll have enough room to tie boards going that way. And that puts us right at about 146 inches, 146 and a half inches. And one other thing that kind of just caught my attention, that I already knew this but I somewhat forgot about, is I need a support post right here, because that's way too far. It's just over 12 foot. That's way too far to run one inch board without some type of support in the middle of it. That doesn't have to be done tonight, but that's definitely going to have to be done. I don't think it's going to really cause a problem for us unless we get some animals in here that are acting kind of crazy, that might be putting force upon these boards. But it's definitely something I got to address. So I'm not sure what happened, but to my surprise, our microphones were about dead. Luckily, I caught it before they died. The audio in the rest of my section of the video here might not be quite as clear, and I'll just go ahead and apologize for that. On the end here. Let me show you why I do this. This isn't quite as necessary on store-bought lumber, but you can see this was actually the end of the log or the end of the tree or whatever when it was cut, and the end of this board is by no means square. So we just square them off real quick, and then we take our actual board length measurement and cut the other end. And real quick, while I'm standing here right in front of it, something I'm going to address real quick. I get so many questions about this red and white truck and the brown truck sitting right over there behind it. Want to know if we want to sell them, what's the deal with them, and all that good stuff. I'm going to try to make a long story short. This one right here was the very first truck I ever bought with like my own money. It's money I saved up just working. I was able to pay cash for it. I drove it for years and years and years, mistreated it in several different ways. This truck holds a lot of sentimental value to me. And if we keep having this rough winter, this thing may be something that in an upcoming video, y'all get to see me try to bring it back to life. I'm not going to go into all the details of what's wrong with it right now, but it does have some pretty, I don't know if you want to say serious, but it does have some mechanical issues, and that's why it's sitting here. The brown F-150 back over behind it, that was my grandpa's truck. It also has some mechanical issues. I keep meaning to fix this stuff throughout the winters because I'm always so busy spring, summer, and fall. I just don't have time to do it then. And plus, I don't really have a good place to work. I've got my daddy's shop, but I hate tying it up, you know, for long periods of time working on some of my junk that really doesn't do him any good. In the near future, one of these trucks may be able, I may try to bring one of them back to life. I don't know if that's going to actually hold true or not. I say this every year, and then we turn back off pretty. I'm able to get outside work done at that point, and I never get time to actually work on these because they're not top priority on my list. Back to my construction project.
And last but not least, how many of y'all know what this is? This right here is a big old chunk of fatback. I would love to hear what people think about this because we got ate up on our bacon video about our bacon was nothing but fat. I'd like to know what people think about fatback. What this is the middling of the pig right here. And your bacon comes off the lower end of it. Your bacon's here. And then you got this whole big old nice square piece of fat here. And if you've ever read in books or heard your grandparents talk about streaky meat, streaked meat, a little fat with a streak of lean, side meat, that is your fatback. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually not going to slice this. I'm going to cut this into some chunks and freeze it that way. I'll slice it when I'm ready to use it or either cut up in chunks for beans, things like that. I'm not going to get any of this extra salt off of this. I've shook off what I could. And I'm going to tell y'all, fatback has its own flavor. And it's just good. It's just downright good. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this big old thing in half. I'm going to have to sweep when I get done. Let's see, I believe that's about half. And these are just like the hog jaws. They done took all the salt they're going to take. They could sit there till March or April and be alright, but I'll go ahead and get this done. So there's your streaked meat on the bottom there. And the further up you get, the more it's just a piece of fat. Even this right here, though, fried in a frying pan, it's great. It is great. So I want my pieces about like that. See, there ain't much streaked meat in there, but there's a little bit. I don't keep a whole lot of fat back because I keep so much other salted meat. But I do like to change it up every once in a while. And see that chunk of fat with it salted down like that? I know some of y'all know. It's good. Now this Midland meat, if it's not salted down, you could also cut this up and make lard out of it before it's salted. But we like to make fatback. I believe I'll cut it in chunks about like that right there. That'll be just fine. And it does still have, when you make fatback, it does still have the skin on the back, and I just leave that. Just like on that hog jaw, I didn't show you all that part, but it also has the skin on there. And right there got a nice little streak in it. See there? Streaky meat. Oh yeah. That's a nice little chunk of fat back right there.
So I've put up a few more boards here. And what I've done was took one of my treated 2x6s that I had left over from this side. It's actually one of the ones that I cut, and it fits in there perfect. Now it's not attached to the ground. You can see it's just wobbling. But so far, that right there is a lot more sturdy. Not as sturdy as it would be with a post. But by the time I get all the boards up here, and especially the thicker 2x6s at the bottom, the treated 2x6s, that'll be quite a bit sturdier, and I think that's going to hold up for us for now. If it ends up being a problem, I'll do something about it when it is a problem. But for now, I think this is going to work. I'm sure, like many of y'all, we are in full blast mud season right now. These are some really nice looking boards, especially those two middle ones right there. Those are almost too nice to put up as siding boards on a barn, but that's what we're going to do with them.
And I get a lot of questions about our vacuum sealer here, and it is an Excalibur vacuum sealer. We've had it probably 3 or 4 years now. We've been more than impressed with it because, as you've seen from the videos, I put vacuum sealers to work. I mean, I just really do. But we killed a lot of food savers through the years, and this one's really held up nice. Unfortunately, after me and Andy got to looking, I don't think they make these anymore. The brand Excalibur doesn't anymore. I've seen some that look like this on Amazon that are different brand names, so I can't speak of how well those are. But to answer that question, it is an Excalibur vacuum sealer.
What do you think?
It looks so nice.
Well, now, you know.
I love it.
Good. You know, originally I didn't plan on having a wall across this part, which I'm going to now.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and block this whole thing off. So what I'm going to have to do, where I didn't allow for these boards for me to have something to nail to, I'm just going to take me a 2x4 and strip it up that side, and I'll nail to the 2x4. So it'll work. Just won't be what you call right, but it'll work. Daddy come down here for a few minutes. He helped me get the rest of these up.
It looks so good.
Yeah. Get this right here blocked off, and then we can open the gate back up and let them in here. And look, the gate's down here now.
I see
So
that.
I went ahead and moved it.
Well, there you go. We've got us a gate back now.
Yep, we got a gate back. Didn't have to buy one. But all I've got left to get to where we can put them back in here is blocking the rest of this off. And I've got one board cut. I've got to cut the rest.
I love it.
How many years have we been up here now? How many years has it been since we built this barn?
Probably.
At least 7 or 8.
I was gonna say 8.
It was before Jacob was born, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, we've been married for
We've been married for 12.
12 years.
Yeah, 12 years this year.
So probably 10 years.
So about 10 years. After 10 years, our horses are finally going to have somewhere to get out of the wind. That's been the whole goal all along. This was originally a horse barn before we had cows.
Before we had tractors.
And before we had all these tractors.
No, it is perfect though. Now I won't worry about them.
Thank goodness. Now it really is cold over on the other side of the building where the sun ain't shining. Right here in this sun, it feels pretty good. Perfect. Y'all, it is unreal how much wind this right here wall is cutting off. That feels like a wind tunnel right through that little hole right there. The wind at this moment's blowing from this direction. And it is simply amazing how much difference in temperature it is, or how much better it feels on this side of the wall versus just up the hill on the other side of the barn. This was probably, just after this right here, this is probably one of the best things we've ever done down here.
So tonight for supper, we're just gonna have some pan-fried cheeseburgers with some leftover green beans and some leftover fried potatoes. I like to do when I do my hamburgers in a pan, I like to use some bacon grease. I like to put just enough in there to cover the bottom of my cast iron there. We like them about as good this way as they are cooked on the grill. Now when I do my hamburgers, I like to mix in some salt and pepper and a little Italian seasoning and some Worcestershire sauce. I let it set for, I don't know, 10 minutes or so after I mix it all together. And it really gives those burgers a really good flavor. Plus this bacon grease gives them some good flavor too. Bacon grease can fix anything. Bacon grease and butter.
Well, I finally did it. I met today's goal. And if I have to say so myself, it looks pretty good. I'm sure the animals are going to really appreciate this right here. I'm not done yet, but this is what had to be done today. Now I can let the animals back in. And if I had to guess, I'd say supper's just about done. Once again, I cannot elaborate how much of a difference this makes, y'all. The wind's blowing everywhere around me right now. I'm watching the trees blow. It's cold. Plus, in my opinion, it just makes it look more like a barn. It's starting to look the way that we've intended it to look ever since we built this thing. Here you go, Brian.
It is. I wish you'd put you a sweet pickle. It's so good.
On my burger? Mm-hmm. Well, it probably is good. Meagan's famous home cooking.
Oh, yeah.
Well, y'all, I hope you enjoyed the video. Like we always say, I hope you learned a little something. And I guess we'll see you on the next one.
Y'all have a good one.
Have a good one, y'all.